Look, I reckon Caitlin Clark is going to be even better coming into the season. Just look at her arms, for God.
As Caitlin Clark enters her second season, looking radically different, Jen Orma's comment that she was too thin for the WNBA must still be ringing in his mind.
Just not built for the physicality of this league. Yeah, and she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality. So there's a lot of learning curve, like Diana.
There is a significant learning curve because, as Diana mentioned, Clark is simply not suited for the physicality of this league and is not fast enough to escape it. Have you seen the recent photos of Clark turning into a butterfly? She has revealed significant muscle growth, particularly in her arms. The question now isn't whether Clark can handle the physicality, but rather whether the league can handle the new shape. After hearing all that talk about her being physically outmatched, Clark changed herself to respond to the rookie frame that opponents once targeted. Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark is one of the best and well-known basketball players on the planet right now. And this past offseason, she worked really hard to add 8 pounds of muscle to her frame to give her an additional edge on the offensive and defensive ends of the court. And it clearly paid off because she was able to finish around the rim better and play tougher on-ball defense.
Let's return to Gino Ora's remarks regarding Clark's lack of WNBA build. We all saw it happen game after game as opponents would physically dominate her and body her up, knocking her off balance. For example, in that game against Connecticut, she was knocked down 3 times in the first quarter alone. Her effectiveness was severely limited by these physical mismatches.
Remember the version of Caitlin Clark that came out and, let's be real, got bullied by Dejanay Carrington in that first game. Then in her second game, got bullied by Benijah Laney-Hamilton. In her third game, got bullied by Benijah Laney-Hamilton. No, she was all right in the second time they played Liberty. In her fourth game, got bullied by Dejanay again for a lot of the game.
Clark would attempt to get through screens and be destroyed. She would run to the basket but be pushed aside, making room for stronger. Her amazing passing and shooting abilities could only partially make up for that physical disadvantage, making defenders all but impossible.
And throughout the season, struggled when it came to her defense because they couldn't really put her on small forwards because she would get bullied, and they couldn't put her on guards because, look, she's an average at best defender on ball.
In a mid-season broadcast, basketball analysts like Rebecca Lobo noted that Clark's frame might be the limit of her potential. She has the skill set of a superstar, but the physique of someone who might find it difficult to handle the physicality of the league. These worries raised valid concerns about her future in the league.
Well, I mean, Gino Auriemma was talking about Caitlin Clark and Paige being the same build. Yeah, they're not the same build, right?
However, Clark refuses to acknowledge constraints. She listened to every criticism, experienced every physical altercation she lost on the court, and changed herself rather than offering justifications following the season finale, in which she shot just 4 for 16 while being continuously knocked off her places. Clark started a dedicated strength program right away, emphasizing functional power in particular.
A lot of stuff yesterday, a lot of people were talking about it, just how much bigger Caitlin Clark has gotten. That's all people are talking about. So obviously, if you're looking at the picture with her with Serena Williams.
Well, yesterday was a busy day. Many people were discussing how much bigger Caitlin Clark had become, and that was all they had to say. Of course, if you look at the photo of her with Serena Williams, you can see that her arms appear slightly larger, but it's difficult to tell from that. Those recent photos of Clark and Serena Williams tell the full story. Clark has gained significant muscular mass, which is drastically altering her physical profile. Her arms are powerful and developed in ways we never witnessed during her rookie season. The difference between her arms and shoulders is astounding.
How much bigger Caitlin Clark's arms are than last year. It's mad.
This change wasn't a fortunate coincidence. It is evident from the before and after photos that this was a focused strategy to build her body, especially to combat the physical limitations she experienced. Clark's body has been reshaped to add the required strength while preserving her quickness.
And we've seen it again more and more throughout this offseason, pictures of Caitlin Clark, just how much she is bulked up. And again, it's a sign of somebody that is very clearly working her way towards being, well, no longer the skinny guard that they said was nowhere, was not big enough.
Her new physique is similar to a soccer midfielder such as Julie or Catherine Dine, combining explosive strength and quick twitch agility. She has acquired the functional strength required to absorb contact, maintain balance during physical play, and still perform her signature skills. This physical makeover makes it very evident to the rest of the league that Clark is not depending on shooting and passing to get past her physical limitations. Rather, she is doing away with them completely. The rookie who is bullied is gone, and in her place is an athlete who appears prepared to engage in some physical play of her own.
And not only that, like Caitlin Clark has, I hope that Caitlin Clark has not put on, because in fairness, she doesn't look like there's too much size being put on. But compared to last season, how much bulk she has put on. You would hope, again, for a Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark is built like a soccer player.
You may believe that building muscle is always beneficial for athletes, but the reality is far more nuanced. An intriguing subject that no one is discussing is brought up by Clark's physical transformation. What exactly happens to a player whose game is based on finesse when they suddenly add a considerable amount of muscle? The advantages are obvious. With her newfound strength, Clark will be making contact rather than taking it, which means she won't be knocked off her spot when creating separation for her signature step-back three. This completely changes the game for someone who primarily relies on making shooting windows.
Funnily enough, I don't think it's going to have effect on the pace that she plays at, because if you watch Caitlin Clark play, the pace that she plays at is more here. Like, Caitlin Clark is much faster here than she is like physically, and that's one of the things I don't think people really know.
I don't think it will have enough of an impact on the speed at which she plays, because if you watch Caitlin Clark play, you'll notice that she moves much more quickly here than she does physically, and that's one of the things that I don't think people really understand. Last season, she would make incredible moves to get past defenders, only to be knocked off balance when attempting to finish those plays. Those days are over, because she will power through contact and turn those opportunities into points thanks to her increased strength. Her teammates directly benefit from this change. Now that Clark can make wise selections that yield tangible benefits, the Fever may launch completely new offensive formations that weren't before feasible.
As well as that, like how she gets Zaza Pachulia, how often people try to undercut her on jump shots, and she seems to just be made of a...
When your point guard isn't a liability, she's able to hold her ground against drives and post-ups, which makes the entire defensive scheme more flexible. Defensively, we're witnessing a complete reversal as teams targeted Clark on switches last season, forcing her to defend bigger players who would back her down easily.
She's built like a long-distance runner, like her natural build, which is why there hasn't been too many injuries. She's got that elasticity that doesn't seem to really be too common as far as WNBA players are concerned. Like, considering whether it be WNBA in college, she doesn't put that much force through her legs considering how much speed she uses. Like, there's not that much change of direction. She's just downhill at one speed.
But like any change, there are possible risks. When athletes bulk up quickly, their bodies can react negatively. Common issues include decreased flexibility, loss of lateral quickness, and occasionally an increased risk of injury as the body adjusts. Diana Taurasi demonstrated this early in her career, when her initial muscle gains slowed her down until she found the ideal balance.
Hope that bulking up, there are definitely times where that has caused more injuries, so I would be a little bit concerned for that, but there's not much of a concern. There's genuinely not much of a concern.
Clark's predicament is unique because of her processing speed. She outperforms practically every other player in the league, even well-known players like Sabrina Issou. Since of this mental edge, she can still outperform the defense even if she loses some foot speed, since her mind adjusts like a high-performance computer surpassing its heavier hardware. The coaching staff is aware of the hazards as well as the advantages. They are purposefully cutting her playing time from 38 minutes per game as a rookie to about 31 minutes. This isn't because they are worried about how well she will play, Rather, they think she can continue to produce impressively even with less playing time, because she will be more adept at using her new physical tools.
I would be very, very interested to see what ends up happening when it comes to Caitlin Clark. Like, I do think there's no question about it that Caitlin Clark bulked up throughout last season. Like, this is footage of her when she was in June. Like, you could see that Caitlin Clark went 100% like bulked up through the season, but especially post All-Star break. But we've seen in the off season, like there's no question about it. In the off season, there has been, I know obviously she's flexing in one and on the other.
This off season, Clark did more than simply practice her jump shot and ball handling. She rebuilt her physique to get rid of what detractors said was her biggest weakness. That level of commitment demonstrates a mindset that sets great players apart from legends.
But it's going to be really interesting to see her coming up against guards, with her no longer being that young guard.
But it will be fascinating to watch her face guards now that she is not the same young guard. Her commitment to changing her body is meant to disprove critics and reveal a completely different Indiana Fever. During the previous season, the team developed defensive strategies especially meant to shield Clark from physical confrontations. Their whole defensive strategy had to accommodate her limitations. The coaching staff wasted valuable time trying to hide her rather than improving their defensive strategy, but now that the fever has passed, they can finally play the defense they had always wanted to play. Rather than worrying about opponents pursuing Clark all the time, they can concentrate on aggressive rotations that trap and pressure ball handlers. This will be liberating for the coaching staff because there won't be any more last-minute defensive substitutions when larger guards enter the game.
Like, this was, again, her off-season the previous year. Like, you can see how much skinnier Caitlin Clark was going into her senior season in college, going into the 23-24 season, versus what size she's coming into the 2025 season at. Like, it's huge for the Indiana Fever because as long as it doesn't have any effect on her shooting.
With Clark's newfound physical presence, this transition creates entirely new lineup options. In some matchups, she may even be able to guard wings and some smaller forwards. Because of their defensive adaptability, the Fever can test out different lineups that they wouldn't have tried the previous season. They could try 3 guard lineups or even go small with Clark at the 2 without compromising their defensive integrity.
And I think that even if it does slow her down a slight bit, as long as it doesn't slow her down too much, and it means that the Indiana Fever can be so much more versatile.
When Clark ends up on a bigger player, the team's defensive identity can change from protecting Clark at all costs to being aggressive and versatile, like unlocking a previously inaccessible playbook that's been waiting in the wings. The strategic implications are enormous. Those switching schemes the Fever couldn't run because teams would hunt for Clark are no longer a limitation.
Separates a Caitlin Clark and Sabrina, because they do the same thing, by the way. Like, they both are, I would say they're almost equivalent as far as their shooting is concerned. Like, Caitlin Clark just processes the game better. Like, that is the difference. I think as far as ability to make a pass, similar enough. Their gravity is similar. Caitlin Clark just processed the game significantly faster than Sabrina.
The Fever can now use Clark in physical offensive sets that weren't feasible prior to Clark setting hard screens for shooters vying for post position against smaller guards or driving into defenders' chests rather than settling for outside shots. This increased defensive flexibility translates smoothly into more offensive possibilities. Her enhanced physique enables the playbook to significantly expand, providing the Fever with a wider range of offensive options. What sets this apart from her shooting and passing is how Clark's higher basketball IQ enhances her physical development, as the study highlights. Caitlin Clark's cerebral edge means that even a slight drop in raw speed from the extra muscle won't affect her game, because her head analyzes the game much faster than other players on the court, allowing her body to keep up.
There are super fast players running-wise that just play slow, and there are super slow players that play fast. It is how fast you can process the game, and Caitlin Clark's processing of the game is significantly higher significantly faster than any other player in the WNBA.
It all depends on how quickly you can digest the game and Caitlin. Some extremely fast players run wise and only play slowly, while other extremely slow players play quickly. Compared to other WNBA players, Clark processes the game at a substantially higher or faster rate. The squad as a whole is affected by the ripple effect. Everyone can now play their natural roles and positions since the Fever no longer needs to make up for Clark's physical limitations. Her final significant shortcoming is addressed by this physical change, as her shooting, passing, and basketball IQ are already at elite levels. For the Indiana Fever, Clark develops into a fully realized superstar. This might be the spark that turns them from a postseason club into a serious contender for the championship.
If Caitlin Clark, I don't think she's going to be able to play the power forward position. But if she's even able to do something, like it's not even anything major, like if she's even able to do something on the defensive end, guarding threes or guarding fours, like even if it's say a small ball four, let's just say there are teams running with undersized power forward.
We're seeing something unique with Clark right now. She took that overly thin narrative and nailed it, as evidenced by the pictures. This isn't just a player who took criticism to heart and changed a few things. It's a whole physical makeover that demonstrates her championship attitude. This is just the beginning of Clark's evolution. The WNBA isn't prepared for what's coming. Will you be there when she rewrites the record books? Clark has changed into a physical force that demands respect. She has maintained all of her basketball brilliance while eliminating her one weakness. What's frightening for the rest of the league?